This week on Maker Update, remaking a vintage electroluminescent display, a new family of Arduino Nano boards, humans controlling humans, printing a collapsible lightsaber, a DrumCube, and a look at Maker Faire Bay Area. Hey everybody, I'm Donald Bell and welcome to another Maker Update. I hope you're all doing awesome. I had a great time at Maker Faire Bay Area last weekend. I saw a lot of amazing projects that I will show you in another video, but for this video, let's get started with the project of the week. As some of you know, I'm a sucker for unique or anachronistic display technologies, split flap, flip dot, Nixie tube, you name it, but this one from Ben Krasnow takes the cake. It's a reproduction of an Apollo-era electroluminescent display known as a Digi-Key display, and it's a thing of glowing green beauty. As a non-engineer, I'm not going to pretend to understand how he pulled it off, but Ben goes over every detail in his 28-minute video, from preparing the conductive glass to silk screening conductive ink for each element, and the logic behind the display board and the driver board and all of the many bugs that he encountered along the way. My favorite part though, which I could somewhat grasp, is how he was able to transform a single pane of glass into a multi-segment display. The glass itself is a special glass coated on both sides with conductive indium tin oxide. The back is then coated with a dielectric, and then the pattern for each illuminated element is silk screened on using conductive ink from bare conductors. PCB with the same pattern of character segments lays behind that, driving each segment with 300 volts. In addition to the video, Ben has a GitHub page with the PCB design files, firmware, graphics, all available for download. It's incredible, way beyond me, but I love knowing that projects like this are possible. It's time for some news. Arduino has announced a new line of Arduino Nano boards due out mid-June. The new Nano family includes 4 boards. The entry level is the Nano Every, affordably priced at $9.90. Then you have the Nano 33 IoT, which includes Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and a 6-axis accelerometer for $18. The Nano BLE includes Bluetooth and a 9-axis accelerometer for $19. And finally, the Nano BLE Sense includes Bluetooth and a bunch of built-in sensors for a barometer, humidity, temperature, and light, priced at $29.50. One interesting feature common to all of the boards is that the pins are designed with what are called castellated pads, allowing them to be surface mounted directly to larger printed circuit boards. Now for more projects. I was lucky enough to talk with Takashi Kaburagi this weekend about his self-solving Rubik's Cube and farting baseball projects that we covered back in episode 121. He showed me another project of his called the Human Controller. It's over a year old, but it's new to me, so I figured it's worth talking about. The gist of it is that he made a simple remote control that triggers 4 small solenoids mounted on a headband worn by another person. So you press the forward button and a solenoid on the forehead would vibrate, indicating which direction to go. The other solenoids are mounted on the left, right, and back of the head. It's an incredibly silly but a fun idea, and I have to think the person wearing the headband eventually comes back to slap the controller out of your hand, which is probably why he made version 2 of this project, which allows you to control the headband remotely over the internet. He has a demo showing how he was able to control a friend in New York from his office in Japan. It's like telepresence robotics, but with a human. There's probably a business plan in here somewhere, but I hope we never see it. Over on Thingiverse, there are 3 awesome collapsing toy sword designs by 3D Printing World. The first is a pirate sword, and what's especially cool about it is that the whole thing is a single print-in-place design. You just pull it off the print bed and fling it out with a satisfying shh. The other 2 designs are a Star Wars style lightsaber. One prints as a single piece, but it means that your handle and sword color are the same, which doesn't seem quite right, though you could probably fix that problem with some paint. As an alternative, he has a nifty version with a removable blade that you can print separately and drops right into the handle with a little screw cap to keep it in place. It looks like a fun print, and who doesn't need a lightsaber? On Instructables, FrancoMolina has this guide on making what he calls a DrumCube. It's a wonderfully analog drum machine that uses an Arduino Uno to store and play back patterns sent out to different elements. One is a pair of servos that move a couple sticks that hit a snare drum made out of a metal sheet and a Pringles can. The other moves a little foam block with a piezo microphone attached that acts as a kick drum. There's also a hi-hat sound that's not mechanical but made by a transistor-based noise generator circuit. All of it though is controlled by the Arduino and sent out over a single audio jack that can be run out to speakers. A USB jack is also left exposed so that new patterns can be programmed directly in the Arduino code. I think it's a great project and I can see a lot of ways to develop it further. I have some tips and tools to share on I Like to Make Stuff. Bob Claggett has an introduction video to saw blades, cross-cut, rip-cut, tooth count, dado blades, bandsaw blades, jigsaw blades, a lot of useful information in under 5 minutes. The latest Cool Tools podcast has a great interview with maker Sean Michael Ragan. He has some great tips on adhesive-backed sandpaper, twist clamps, and an awesome bench vise. Untested, Norm Chan has a great interview with maker Sophy Wong about her wearable tech projects. In particular, they go over her sci-fi spacesuit, and she offers some tips on getting started in wearable projects. In the latest Tips, Tools, and Shop Tales newsletter, Gareth Branwin goes over sculpting small wood pieces with a spring clamp holding her work for extra power and safety. There's also a tip on using inexpensive silicone makeup brushes for applying glues and resins. I also wanted to personally share that my most valuable tool at the Power Racing Series track last weekend at Maker Faire was my Dremel VersaTip Precision Butane Soldering Torch. I've got a whole separate video on it that I'll include in the show notes, but for soldering wires and sizing up heat shrink on a go-kart, outside and in the rain, it was perfect and a good value at around $35. For this week's Digi-Key Spotlight, I encourage you to check out the video we just published looking at some of the coolest things we saw at Maker Faire Bay Area, from an electric excavator art car to a newly built R2-D2, microbit controlled giant cardboard dinosaurs to tiny little component cross sections. You're bound to find something that will inspire you. Alright, and that does it for this week's show. Be sure to subscribe, leave a thumbs up, or leave a comment. It's been getting a little quiet down here in the comment section. I'd appreciate you chiming in. You can also get on the Maker Update email newsletter to get show notes emailed out to you automatically each week with a few bonus projects thrown in. A big thanks to my patrons on Patreon and to Digi-Key Electronics for sponsoring the show. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.